Right, as the world has opened up to international travel, New Zealand is proving tricky. Travellers wanting to come home have to undertake a COVID test, complete a traveller declaration form, but there are lots of other things they've got to do too. Many have come up against a number of technical issues. One of them is Paul Beswick, who faced a number of logistical problems when returning home from a trip to Australia. He's with me now. Paul, good morning. Oh, he's still returning. Paul, can you hear me? So I'll tell you what happened with Paul. Paul was coming home from Sydney. He went to Sydney for a trade show. He's in eyewear, glasses and stuff like that. Coming home from a trade show in Sydney, he was there for just 4 days. So it's not a long trip, right? So I guess every second counts when you're on a short trip like that. And he basically had to spend a day mucking around trying to get back into his home country. Why? It's the declaration form that you have to fill in. And on that form, you have to show that you've had a test, a COVID test, within the last 48 hours. His big problem, and is Paul back with us just yet? I don't want to ruin his punchline. You see. But if he gets back to us, I'll tell you exactly what the problem was. In the meantime, at 7:15, let's get some of your feedback while we wait to get back to Paul.
I actually put a call out too on social media asking what kind of impact or what experiences have people had travelling back to New Zealand. I had one response: we struggled on our way home from America. If it's difficult for youngsters to get your head around, there's no way my parents would be able to do it. It took people almost 3 hours to get through the check-in process. Then I also had people on the other side of the thing say, actually, travelling around the world, we found New Zealand was one of the easiest in terms of you just fill out the form and it saves to your email. Other countries make you print forms or download apps.
Right.
But I have heard a lot of people having issues.
Yeah.
If you're one of them, let us know. feedback@ameshow.co.nz.
Well, I can tell you Paul is back, and Paul is one of them. Paul, welcome back, mate. So, you've been in the trade show in Sydney. You're coming back to New Zealand. What's the hold-up?
Well, correct, yeah. So obviously we just opted, my colleague and I opted to head to get a test 48 hours beforehand because we wanted to attend the trade show without leaving the trade show. So we rocked in at 12:30, exactly 48 hours before our flight. Sadly, it appears that the nurse's watch was a tad slower than my work colleagues. She put down the time as 12:29 and he was a few minutes after me. He went in with a different nurse at the same time. So I hadn't even checked the time. I actually lodged the negative test, which came through later that night. I lodged it that following morning, the Saturday morning, only to get a rejection saying it didn't meet the time criteria. And at first, I couldn't work out what was going on. So it wasn't until I actually had noticed on the test that it had come in at 12:29, 1 minute before the 48-hour cutoff. So I opted to give them a call and have a chat with them and work out exactly, what we could do. Surely 1 minute is not going to make a huge difference.
Surely, Paul. Your nurse has a slow watch. Exactly. This is not my problem. I've gone in, I've done the right things. I've paid 145 Australian dollars to do a PCR test, the best test possible, and we're 1 minute out. The person I spoke to on the phone said they would get someone to review it, and I'll get an email within 2 to 3 hours. Just under 4 hours later, an email to say my review had been rejected. So I had to go about obtaining another test at that point. Right. So did this hold your travel up, or did you? I guess it was far enough in advance that, or you would have had to change your flights.
No, I didn't have to change my flights, but I was over there to work. And sadly, I spent, obviously we delayed our journey to the trade show the first day to get the test done before we went, to tick that off and get out of the way. But the following morning we had meetings, which I had to abandon to go and get a second test done, all the while waiting to see whether or not they were going to approve the first test, which I would have thought, 1 minute difference they would have done.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? So, Paul, at the end of the day, is it worth travelling for business while we've got all these rules in place? Would you do it again? Would you go to that trade show again, knowing what you know now about the bureaucracy?
Not at all. It's just so disruptive, it's on your mind the whole time. And it's not only that, it's trying to find the appropriate places to do it. Upon the second test, trying to find a pharmacy that would actually do the test for me while I was there was a real difficulty. So, I wouldn't. My biggest concern is tourists. Why would they want to come to New Zealand? You go to Australia all day long before New Zealand because you don't have the hassle of doing a test before you come into the country.
Yeah, it's a really good argument, Paul. And as we head into winter and we've got the ski slopes opening this week, you've got to ask yourself whether New Zealand is that appealing of an option. Paul, thanks for sharing your story, mate. We're going to put some questions to Customs and those agencies that are involved. Paul Beswick, who travelled from Australia to New Zealand and, you know, by a minute, nearly didn't make it in. It's 11 minutes away from 7 o'clock now. I can tell you that Customs, we reached out to them about the complaints. They told us that the process is working well for most travellers coming to New Zealand. They admit the process has proven challenging for some. They're making changes to ensure the system is more user-friendly. But for people like Paul, I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? He's there for business. You know, business creates jobs and revenue, which New Zealand needs, and he's saying he wouldn't go do it again.
Yeah.